Good to be back out there.
Tired of being what you want me to be, feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. Don't know what you're expecting of me, put under the pressure of walking in your shoes.
Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow.
Every step that I take is another mistake to you.
Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow.
I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. I've become so Can't you see that you're smothering me, holding too tightly, afraid to lose control? 'Cause everything that you thought I would be has fallen apart right in front of you.
Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow.
Every step that I take is another mistake to you.
Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow.
And every second I waste is more than I can take. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. I've become so I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Tired of being what you want me to be. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Tired of being what you want me to be.
Sometimes I think, when I look up real high, that there's such a big world.
It starts with all I know. So unreal. Watch it I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I tried so hard and got so far, but in
You want to tell me what this is all about?
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying in chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta low. As they croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be like, on my knees in the night, saying prayers in the street light. Been spending most of their lives living in the gangster's paradise. They've been spending most of their lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. Look at the situation they got me facing. I can't live a normal life. I was raised by the state, so I gotta be down with the hood team. Too much television watching got me chasing dreams. I'm an educated fool with money on my mind. Got my tin in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a loped out gangster, set tripping banker, and my homies is down, so don't arouse my anger. Fool, death ain't nothing but a heartbeat away. I'm living life, do or die. What can I say? I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24? The way things is going, I don't know. Tell me why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? We've been spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. We've been spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. Power and the money, money and the power. Minute after minute, hour after hour, everybody's running, but half of them ain't looking what's going on in the kitchen. But I don't know what's cooking. They say I got to learn, but nobody's here to teach me. If they can't understand it, how can they reach me? I guess they can't, I guess they won't, I guess they front.
All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome to WreckTalk Live tonight. Does it have to notify me that my mic on StreamYard is muted? Is that necessary? I don't want it. Okay, I guess it works fine that way. Also, I don't know why StreamYard, every time I load up OBS, all the proportions are slightly different. Give me a second. I'm going to start off hot out the gate here. If things can go wrong, guys, they will. It's like Fallout 76. It just works. All right, but yeah, if you have been living under a rock, and Slim already giving me crap, Haynes King, which surprised me on two different fronts, but Haynes King named the starting quarterback for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets this season, and I'm actually going to watch on stream some of the press conference. I haven't seen any of Key's press conference that he gave today, but evidently he said, King is the starting quarterback, and he will not be on a short leash, meaning he's not going to Steve Spurrier just yank the kid for the first mistake or interception he throws, which, hey, if you're going to name a kid the starter, I think that's the way it has to be. I mean, you can't just play quarterback hot potato with guys when you need the camaraderie of the offense. It runs through the quarterback, right? Now, I did say I'm surprised. I hope Bryce doesn't accuse me of being emotional about that. I was kind of surprised that he, what was it, Georgia Tech fan or something, he like quoted that tweet and was like, stop being so emotional. It's like, well, maybe he thought, like me, Pyron was at the moment the more talented quarterback. I mean, realize like I'm not at practice, so I don't know. I'm just going on based off last year, what I see. I thought Pyron would be named the starter, and I was wrong, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean I'm some emotional broad, does it? Anyways, like painting everyone with the same brush like that. By the way, if you're not a member of the channel, consider joining. There's a link for that in the description of the video, and there's also a join button if you're watching on your computer. I've got basically 2 series that will go on season long. I haven't debuted them yet, but I preview them basically, and I work through the kinks through members only videos on those. So if you'd like to be a part of that process, become a member. There's other things you get with that as well. Slim Shady says, yeah, Rhett can handle it. He's wrong all the time. I mean, not all the time. Not all the time. Let's roll up through the chat here and see who we got in here. We did this impromptu. Don't usually stream. I think BVD's streaming as well, so I guess we got some slot wars going on. Yeah, okay. Nerdstop says it means he beat out Pyron and is better than him, so I think this can only mean positive things. Thank you, Nerdstop. John Burns says, can't wait till the Jackets take out the Redbirds. I can't either. Louisville fans all happy that they're fighting each other. It's interesting. Let's see here. Slim Shady says, please tell me again, sir, how Haynes King isn't your starting quarterback. I said I didn't think he would be, but I was wrong. Hal Road says, can Pyron be Godsey and wait a bit, continue to improve, and let good recruiting kick in a couple of years? I'm really excited for what's coming. I think that's a really good point, Hal, and we're going to talk about that tonight. CDawg18 says, sup, WreckTalk. What's up, CDawg18? What's going on? And Slim Now says, you're right, not all the time, just when you argue with me. Did you come out and say that King was going to be our starting quarterback definitively? It's interesting that you brought up Miss Cleo, because I think you employ some of these cold reading techniques yourself, Slim, in arguments. Like, I know the name. It starts with an M, an N, maybe Mary, and it can be a cousin, someone alive or dead, and they can be someone that means something to you significantly or tangentially. That's kind of how Slim argues. So I see why you brought up Miss Cleo. Mike Doug, in the house, member of the channel, longtime supporter, said they should have started Brody. Yeah, there's a lot of Brody Rhodes talk out there. So TD Jake, what's going on? Says, yo, welcome into the stream. That being said, yeah, Super Chat's always appreciated. We got some bills to pay. I actually have a costume to buy for one of these series that's going to start. It's going to be a season-long series. In fact, right after I get done with the show, I'm going to shoot a members-only video that kind of lays out my plans for that. But yeah, I'll open up the StreamYard in a little bit. But I just want to give my 2 cents worth on the Haynes King thing. Obviously, I'll also make a video about it, probably release it tomorrow. It is surprising. I guess the more surprising thing to me is not necessarily that King was named the starter. If you watch my quarterback position preview video, I said I thought Pyron would be the starter, but it wasn't by much, and I wasn't super confident in that. I'm more surprised we named a starter. You know, I was under the impression we were going to wait to name our starter until we saw who ran out for the first offensive series. That's cool, Slim. I'll see you when you get back. Appreciate it. But it kind of makes sense when I think about it, because there's really not a ton of advantage in not naming a starter from the standpoint of what Louisville has to prepare for, because Haynes King and Zach Pyron are very similar in the style that they play. Like, they're both mobile. So it's not like one is just a straight pocket passer with no mobility and the other is, a Lamar Jackson type. Like, it would be different if the battle was between Pyron and Haynes King. Then it would make a lot more sense not to name the starter, because their skill sets are so vastly different. Because, C-Dog, I'm going to open up the StreamYard in a second. No worries. But because King and Pyron's skill set is so similar, there isn't much advantage to not naming a starter, because it's not like the way the defense has to prepare is vastly different. What's going on, P. Ditchens? Finkel is Einhorn. One of the greatest twists in all of cinema in Ace Ventura. Mike does says, like I said in the members chat, I thought King should get it based off the spring game. Pyron hurried his throws and missed some easy passes. Yeah, it's hard. That's all we can base it on, obviously, is the spring game. Like I said, I haven't seen practice. B-Bean, who gives the best chance to win the most games. I'll get into that shortly. So I think there's far more advantage to naming a starter. When I sat down and thought about it today, it gives confidence to King, who hasn't had it yet in his playing career. Hey, you're the guy. And I think it says a lot that Key came out and said he won't be on a short lease. We're not going to play quarterback hot potato. Now, I will say this. Yes, Nerd Stop, you're right. It is good for morale. If we're 3-4 games in and it just seems like things are not meshing well, the offense isn't running right under King, I think we will make a change in quarterback at that point. Like, it's not like with Sims where Sims was going to be the starter no matter what. If, given enough evidence King isn't the guy, we will put Pyron in. I did watch Bryce's video on it today, and I do agree with him that this quarterback battle is not over yet. And look, guys, it's a long season. Like I said in the quarterback preview, both these guys are mobile. It's a physical game. King is going to run the ball. I don't know, maybe 10, 15% of the time. He might get banged up, and Pyron's going to have to come in. Maybe Gibson has to come in. I don't know. All I know is that both these kids are better for the competition that they had. That's what's insane if you listen to some of the media coverage on this. They kind of act like we're worse off having Haynes King on our roster than not, right? I mean, if King doesn't work out, we've got Pyron, who's a very capable quarterback. What are you talking about? Like they act like we're dead and gone or something. It's not the case. Now, going back up to B-Bean, who says, who gives us the best chance to win the most games? Obviously, the coaching staff thinks that Haynes King gives us the best chance to win games, right? They wouldn't have named him the starter if he isn't. Now, let's go through, what is worrisome about King and then what's good about King. Give me a sec. I need to get some water. I'm kind of... If you have a kid, you know this, but like you can never be 100% healthy with. I'll say whether I agree, B-Bean. They're always bringing something home. Give me 1 second. Where's my water? By the way, what do you guys think about this? That's old school right there. I'm an old school nerd. B being asked, do I agree? Obviously, I slightly don't because I picked Pyron to be the starter. So I guess I somewhat do disagree. But the people that made that decision have infinitely more information to make the decision than I do, right? They see him at practice. They're coaching him up. And I'll say this. I trust Chris Winkie, Buster Faulkner, and Brent Key to put the best man forward. Right? Now, does that mean Haynes King is a better quarterback than Zach Pyron? No, it doesn't. We're going to find that out. It's going to be up to Haynes King to prove that and demonstrate that he is a different quarterback in games at the college level than he has been. Stan Garner says, I was hoping King would win the job. We know how good Pyron is. If King wins it, then he is even better. That's a good point. That tells you that perception is that Haynes King is better than what we saw from Zach Pyron last year. Joseph Smallwood says, it's my first live show. Welcome in, Joe. We're going to have a good time tonight talking about this quarterback. Now, what worries me about Haynes King? Let's set aside the situation that he was in at Texas A&M, but he's been very inconsistent. I talked about, you look at his stats against like Sam Houston State, where he throws for 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks. Last year he threw 7 touchdowns on 6 interceptions. So he was fairly turnover prone. I feel like he's a guy that will force the ball when it's not necessary. But if we've named him the starter, it seems to me that that's something that can be coached out with. They feel that he's a guy that can check the ball down and not and basically know when to take chances and when not to. And that's something that we haven't had at quarterback in a very long time. A guy like that knows where to pick his spots. You have Dominique Blaylock locked up in man coverage with no help over the top. Maybe that's a good time to throw the 50-50 ball on a fly route, right? And if it's a turnover, it's a turnover. It's not one, if the defense just wins that battle, it's, that's okay. Sometimes that happens. You got to take your shots. Kirby's Belt in the house says, I'll be pulling hard for Tech against UNC. What are your thoughts on the Louisville game? We'll talk about that as well. Appreciate that, Kirby. Jeff Brown says King was considered the next Johnny Manziel in high school. He is only a sophomore. That's the other thing. He does have 3 years of eligibility left. And King, Pyron can play in 4 games this year and still retain a red shirt. I'm assuming last year he was given a medical red shirt, which means that we could possibly redshirt him this year. Someone correct me. I'm not an expert on college football rules and roster management, but that is my understanding. Mike Doug says it's a second chance for King. I think he makes the most of it. Now, also, people are very critical of his throwing motion. If you look at it, he holds the ball very high, and there's like a odd delivery. My biggest criticism of it at Texas A&M was it was slow. Biggest thing that I'm concerned with a quarterback's throwing motion is how quick can you get the ball out, right? Now, I've talked about, it seems like that's something he was coached to do at Texas A&M, because when I look at his highlights from high school to Texas A&M, that motion is different, and it's for the worse. So, I think it looked better in the spring game, and honestly, as long as he can make the throws and make the right decisions, who really gives a crap if he holds the ball high? Who cares? Maybe that gives him a better chance of not getting the ball knocked out if we miss a block or something. I don't know. But I don't really care how odd your motion is as long as you can make the throws. I mean, maybe it's not the best example, but like who was the guy that played for Florida that was left-handed? Tim Tebow. He didn't have the most crisp motion either, but made a lot of plays with his arm at Florida. It didn't work out for him in the pros, but basically it's like in engineering. I don't really care about the details. We can just put a black box around this, whatever it does, as long as it's effective. Joseph says his experience against SEC defenses, his experience with Lane, Winky, and the push from Pyron, I'm hopeful for big things. He has great skill positions around him. Also true. Obviously, Haynes King can't do this alone. And let's also talk about, this is something else Bryce brought up in his little live stream he did earlier. Was there a more kind of tumultuous situation for a quarterback to develop in than Texas A&M over the past 2 or 3 years? There was a mass exodus out. There was some major issues with like their donors and NIL and just angst in the program, ton of pressure. and there's going to be pressure at Tech this year. There's going to be more pressure than there's ever been probably for a quarterback at Tech, but it's not going to be anything like he saw at Texas A&M. And I also agree with Joseph there. Like, he's seen the best defenses in the country, which are typically the SEC defenses. Now, he didn't do well against them, but here's the thing. It makes me think of The Sopranos when like Polly Walnuts is talking to Silvio. No one knows the future, my little friend, right? If he's been named the starter, evidently he's much improved. And this is a second chance for King. And he is a very talented quarterback. We're in good hands. Both Haynes King and Zach Pyron were Elite 11 quarterbacks in their recruiting cycles. So we're going to be okay. And I do think Haynes King is capable of stepping up. And let's talk about what he has around him. We've got Dominique Blaylock from University of Georgia. We got Chase Lane, who was already on the same roster at Texas A&M with him. We've got Christian Leary, who, if you didn't know, runs a 10-500 meter. That's a good tool to have. Evidently, DJ Moore and Avery Boyd catching everything that's thrown at them right now. We got Janae Abdul from Duquesne and Malik Rutherford, who showed out during the spring game. Guys, we're as deep at wide receiver as we've been. I mean, when were we this deep at wide receiver? When was the last time we had this much depth at wide receiver? In the late 90s, maybe? Were we even this deep then? I don't know. Now, the big question mark is going to be the offensive line, because it doesn't really matter how talented we are at Joseph says, don't forget the freshman from Deville that is a state track champ. You're talking about, what is that kid's name? I know we've got Zion Taylor as well from Norcross. I can't remember that kid's name, but you're right. C-Dog said, who was second string behind Calvin? Exactly. I mean, we've had teams that had absolutely stud wide receivers, but what did our 2, 3, 4, and 5 wide receivers look like? To me, they all look good. Bryce Dobson is not on roster. His scholarship, he was let out of his national letter of intent. Eric Singleton, that's right. Eric Singleton, thank you. Another kid that's a speed demon. So we've got a great mix of speed, route running, and size at wide receiver. And we've got a good bit of depth at running back too, right? We have Dante Smith, who I got to get that back. Guys, I got a ton of videos to make. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I guess this weekend I'll be doing a lot of work. But Dante Smith, the guy that I'm probably the highest on to have a breakout season this year. Then you got Travion Cooley. Then you've got the kid that Buster Faulkner said is one of the most talented freshmen he's ever coached in the Dickerson kid from IMG. Then you got Felix. And then you've got Haynes, who basically transferred to play over to the running back group. We're going to be okay there too. Biggest thing is going to be, how does the offensive line meld together? That's the one that I am the least confident in right now as to how well that offensive line group is going to be, and that's the most important position group on the offense to play well together. What's going on, Matt Wofford? Welcome to the show. I feel like there was another question that I don't recall. Nerdstop says we got Nate McCullum. And you know what? I hate losing Nate McCullum, but we're a better wide receiver group this year than we were last year. I don't blame Nate for going and get paid, whatever. But also, F North Carolina. They're garbage, and I hate them to the core of my being. David Turk says, I know Key made the call, but I wonder who had the most influence, Winky, Faulkner, or were they both on the same page? You would think they're both on the same page. I would think Winky was the main, I guess, had the biggest vote in that, or at least I would hope so. He's the one who knows the quarterbacks the best. Let's see. Tebow is a great example of ugly throws, LOL. He was effective in college, though. Adam Burgess says, what do you think about Haynes' ability to play against defenses considering he played in the SEC? I am maybe needlessly optimistic. I'm optimistic. Here's the thing. No matter what happens, we're going to be a better offense than we were last year. I know that. And that offense was able to win 4 games under Key. Scrolling through here. Avery Boyd getting looks at tight end, yes. And I think that's also a testament to, look, we're going to get, and Buster Faulkner has even said this in interviews, we're going to get the most talented kids and the kids that give us the best chance of winning on the field. So if we need to put Avery Boyd at tight end, then that's what we're going to do. And I love to hear that, not just like, okay, let's just look at our spreadsheet and see who is one on the depth chart. No, we're going to put the best kids up. Tiger Cat, welcome in here. Nerdstup says our prior special teams is much improved. I don't see how it could be any worse, right? I mean, how could it be any worse than it was last year? Now, I assume you mean improved from when Key took over. Yeah, and I think so too. That's something I haven't really thought about, like who's going to be returning kicks and punts this year. You would think now I'm blanking on the guy that's a track star's name, the transfer from Alabama. You would think he's probably one that's going to be returning kicks, maybe with Boyd, or even wouldn't surprise me if Dickerson. I'm sure he'll be a big special teams contributor. Just rolling back up to the chats here. All right, I think I'm all caught up. Avery Boyd is the same body as 88. Christian Leary, that's it. Christian Leary. So, now I remember. How do I think we'll do against Louisville? Now, I've voiced my opinion, and I'm going to do a straight trash talk video on Louisville. Evidently, there are rivals, so I feel like that's fair. Over-under on Louisville is 8.5. A lot of that has to do with their schedule and how high people are on Jeff Brom. But, I mean, almost everyone that's going to start for that team didn't play for them last year. They had an excellent transfer class. But like I've said before, I don't see them replacing what they lost on the defensive line or at wide receiver. They do bring in Plummer from UCLA, who played under Jeff Brom at Purdue. And is undeniably an above-average quarterback. They're going to be a better team with him, and they do have depth at quarterback. But generally, first-year head coaches, and I don't mean first time being a head coach, but a coach in their first year at a team generally takes a step back. Now, I'm sure someone's going to say, well, why would you absolve Tech from that? Well, because Key coached 8 games as the interim here, and I think that speaks for something. Now, someone like Slim is going to say, Never give any interim any credit ever, and I think that's dumb. Just like most people that live in the city of Miami are. I'll just be straight up with you about that. So, Hank Wallace, welcome. I see Patience Veach in here. How are you? Glad to see Patience in here. I don't know that there's a more, I guess, someone who embodies what a Tech fan is more than Patience Veach. Welcome. Welcome, Porter Osborne says, good evening, everyone. And I saw Porter. It's interesting where I make kind of like throwaway comments that are like literally 5 seconds of video, and then it becomes this huge argument in the comment sections, which, hey, don't blame me. If someone was trashing my team or their schedule, I'd stick up for them too. You know, that's what's great about college football is we all get to argue with each other and defend our teams. And I wouldn't expect any less from any fan. All caps Slim is back. Yeah, Slim, if you didn't know, the caps lock button on his computer is broken. Brian Cagle says, if King can't stay on the throne, throw in Pyro. Who is Louisville? That line is a joke at 8. Yeah, and I think that's just people looking on paper, looking what Tech has been, and saying, hey, Louisville should win by double digits. I don't think that. I think we win that game. I'm not as high on Louisville as everyone else is. And a lot of the people who are like credentialed media people, they're all taking the under on Tech as well, which I don't know. I guess if you want to lose money, take the under on Tech. I don't see Tech winning less than 5 games. I mean, I just don't. But with that being said, I'll open up the StreamYard. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. I'm sure Slim will step in. I always appreciate arguing with him. I imagine that'll get heated. I know Porter Osborne said he wanted to come in and defend his dogs, which I'll go ahead and tell you what that was about. I said Georgia has a butter soft schedule. And I do think that they don't have that difficult of a schedule. Now, in defense, the defense of that is when you're the best team in the country. People are generally going to say that. Let me switch screens here. Porter, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, man. Good evening. Enjoyed the last discussion we had, so I thought I'd call in again.
All right. I see Slim. I'll let him in as well. Slim, how are you doing? I see you look like a Miami man already. How are you doing?
Well, I smell a lot better than I did about 20 minutes ago.
Well, that's not probably saying a whole lot, but yeah, how are you doing, Slim?
I'm good. Well, I mean, did you think I wasn't going to come in here and tell you I told you so?
Yeah, I would do the same thing 100%. Like, I never fault anybody for their trash talk unless it's like provably dumb, which a lot of yours is. So,
well, no. To be perfectly honest, it to me it just made the most sense. He's got the most starting experience. He was the most talented coming out of high school. King made the most sense to me.
Oh man, we got a full
Howdy,
room.
y'all. How we doing?
We got Tech Fan in here. What's going on? And GT on top met you at the fan day. What's going on, guys?
What's up, man? I am feeling great.
And we've got homeless Jeff Collins, and I think that's the most that free StreamYard will let me have. And I'm sorry, I'm not paying for StreamYard. I pay for like 40 other services, and I feel like I've been over enough on that front. So what's going on, guys?
I'm ready for next Friday, man. I'm so ready now.
I am too, man. Like I'm kind of, as much as I like flapping my gums. That's why I have a YouTube channel. I'm ready to show it on the field, and I think we will. But Slim, so I guess you're not as high on King. Like what do you think King can do at Georgia Tech? I guess as someone who's not a Tech homer like most people on the panel.
Well, I mean, my whole thing is, and I've even held my own team to the same standard. You don't get from how bad you were with Jeff Collins to, what Sea Dog's talking about with 7-8 wins. in one off season. That's not a thing that typically happens in college football.
Yeah, you don't typically
rare.
beat Pitt on the road either in the week after you fire them, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I disagree. I hate to, as a Georgia grad, I hate to, stick up for Tech, but I mean, they were very close to winning that Virginia game last year. That might have been the ugliest college football game.
That was the worst game I've ever been at. I mean, that was the most disappointing game.
Yeah, and Slim can relate to playing an ugly game against Virginia, so he's right there with us. But yeah, I mean, we lose our starter in that game.
Truth be told, though, there was a stat they pulled up on the radio before that game that my dad he had a bad feeling when they pulled. It was like we had him, like we always win at Virginia, but we never win at home against them, or some kind of stat like that.
Yeah, now in the
like
past 10
1990.
years, we're 500 with Virginia, which you wouldn't think would be the case. I think we've been a more talented team. Generally, we're a more talented and better program.
Well, when they had Bronco Mendenhall, they actually had a good team.
No, they did, but to your point, I mean, Slim, like, who's a team Miami plays that's not a rival that you just struggle with?
North Carolina, without a doubt.
Yeah, so Virginia's like our North Carolina. Now, I wouldn't know what it's like to lose to North Carolina because we just beat them. But, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then I guess for Georgia, I mean, they've been on top of the world for 2 years, a team that they struggle with. They used to struggle with Florida, but they turned the tide on that. I guess Alabama, until recently, was kind of the bane. But
I wouldn't say that Georgia's per se that they turned the tide on themselves. But that's a story for another day.
South Carolina gets them sometimes.
Yeah, and South Carolina is kind of a schizophrenic team. I mean, they're maybe the team I'm most interested in watching this year that's not my own team because they finished really impressive last year. Now, they did lose to Notre Dame in their bowl, but is South Carolina on the rise? They're going to have to prove that this year, right?
Now, let me ask, when you say schizophrenic, do you mean like that you don't know what you're getting?
Maybe. I just know, and when I say that, I'm talking about a lot of history with South Carolina. Like going all the way back to when Lou Holtz was there, he had Georgia's number.
Well,
I'll tell you, there's only one coach I know that has Georgia's number, and that's Steve Spurrier. He's absolutely walked them for years.
Well, he actually had a losing record against us when he was in South Carolina. Just
Lou Holtz.
Well, no, South Carolina, but whenever he was at Florida, he absolutely walked the dog.
Oh yeah,
with him.
No doubt about it.
At that time, I mean, Georgia was just a dumpster fire in Tennessee, and Florida were running the East.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe I'm not.
They had Jim Donovan.
Yeah,
Donnan. Yeah, maybe I misspoke with like. Holtz. I just feel like Holtz beat him with less talent a few years. But yeah, no, Spurrier probably hates Georgia more than like Brent Key does. Like for whatever reason, Steve Spurrier hated Georgia.
A little fact, most people, I would assume that Spurrier, I'm pretty sure he was a coach or he played for Tech whenever Bill Curry was here, if I'm not mistaken.
Spurrier?
No, I think it was
Spurrier played for Florida, won the Heisman there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his I'll give y'all the background.
No, he may have coached under Tech.
Okay, what's the background, Porter?
Certainly did.
He was with Pepper Rogers.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
So not only did he lose his Heisman year, he lost to Georgia badly, and the only chance he had to win an SEC championship, they lost pretty bad in Jacksonville. And he hated Georgia ever since then. But then his first coaching job was under Pepper Rogers.
Okay.
And Pepper got fired, I want to say 79 after the Georgia game. And after that, he was, not only did he lose his senior year in his most important game against Georgia, Georgia made him unemployed when he was at Tech. So he definitely carried that into his coaching years and has special level of hatred for us.
Yeah, and I know you'll never feel this way, Porter, but I miss Steve Spurrier because he was one of the funniest.
The fun and gun, baby.
Oh, yeah. Like when they were asking each coach what name your team in one word, and he just said, "We all right, we all right." Like he was great for that kind of thing. But so Porter, what do you think about Haynes King at Tech? I mean, he struggled at Texas A&M, a guy that seems to have a fairly high season. What do you think?
Well, he's got to do something about that release. I mean, I know I haven't kept up with him. I didn't watch the Tech spring game, but he kind of had a release. I know the guys on what's that show in the morning? The Auburn guys. It's a pretty funny show on. The Crane Boys. I don't know if y'all ever watched Crane and Company, but they used to describe his release as kind of like a scorpion, like kind of had that long scorpion type thing with the scorpion too. So
I've seen some Miami QBs with the same thing in years past.
So he has to do something about that. But you have to realize he was injured a lot at A&M. So
he was.
I think he's. But the sad thing. I mean, the thing is, I thought the kid from Alabama played pretty good last year, and so
Pyron.
You hate to see him not be. I guess you hate to see somebody come in above him. So I don't know. I if I were a Tech guy, I would want Pyron to win the start.
I look at it from a different viewpoint, and I'm glad that we honestly have Haynes starting solely because King and Pyron and Brent Key are very, very close. They're very tight knit, but that would make it more of an emotional decision, like a fan base emotional, because a lot of the fan base still want. But the fact that it's Haynes King, at least to me, it shows that it's actually a talent or a who fits us better decision.
Well, I don't think Key is just going to make a decision on who he personally likes best. Now, I think Jeff Collins would have.
You really can't say that though, Rick. You don't know what Key's going to do because he's never been a head coach.
What are you talking about, Slim? Of course. Like I don't have Brent Key's phone number. I know like you might think I'm that close with him, but all of this is speculation, right? Like I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's not just like, I don't know, flipping a coin.
There's two coaches in college that have earned the benefit of the doubt, and Brent Key's not one of them.
Well, not on everything.
You got me interested now. Who are the two?
Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney. That's it.
Kirby Smart hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know about Dabo Swinney, honestly.
Kirby Smart is well on his way. A lot of that just comes with time. I mean, neither.
My thing with Dabo is, as a head coach, I mean, I think I'm curious if Brent Key would do is where he'll just let the coordinators do most of it, and he'll just do what he needs to mainly do, and just leave that kind of alone. That's what he did for all those years.
He's going to be good. I hate to say it. He's going to be good. He proved enough to me last year. He in the short time he was head coach has brought a level of toughness to that program. It really reminds me of when O'Leary took over after Bill Lewis, the Bill Lewis disaster.
Oh yeah.
He brought a level of toughness to that program that we Dog Nation were. We hated to see because we love Bill Lewis. We love the last guy you just got rid of.
Jeff Collins.
We love Jeff Collins.
Both of them have ties to Georgia. And what did we learn? Don't hire a Georgia man at a Tech head coaching job.
Well, and O'Leary is, Key's mentor in every way. Like he played under O'Leary, he coached under O'Leary at Central Florida when they built that program up and handed it off to Scott Frost. Like I agree, Porter. Like I think he's going to be good. And as far as benefit of the doubt, yeah, it depends on what you're talking about, right? Like, oh, if I said I'm going to give Key the benefit of the doubt of he's going to win the ACC this year, that would be crazy. But if I say I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to pick the best quarterback based on practice, then I don't think that's unreasonable.
I just don't know first-time coach because I've seen first-time coaches make that mistake. More times than not.
With Haynes King, though, I don't know how good he can be but I do know Pyron is a competitor, and having Pyron nipping at his heels, that may make both of them better.
And to your point on Kirby
Mhm.
Smart, he's done nothing but make the wrong decisions at quarterback thus far at Georgia.
No, man, you're.
Well, I mean,
you're
we
so-
saw
you're
for a
crazy,
fact
dude.
that
You're
Fromm over
absolutely-
Justin Fields.
You're crazy.
That would
Okay, that was
putting
dumb.
Jake Fromm over Justin Fields.
He put
I'm
Jake
sorry,
Fromm
that was.
over Eason
Absolutely.
and Justin Fields.
Absolutely, he made the right
Justin
decision.
Fields
You're-
is an NFL starter.
Okay, help me understand.
Well,
this.
I'll tell you this, though. I knew.
Where in the
Believe
2018
Georgia.
season? Where in the 2018 season would you have replaced Jake Fromm with Justin Fields?
Before the
I would've
season
started
Well, I
started.
just
him.
think he didn't fit a UGA system. So I don't know why the heck.
Well,
he
that
went
was
there.
you see
Because
that was
Justin
the
Fields is not a
problem.
UGA
That was the
quarterback.
problem that they never. That I don't know who convinced Kirby to hire. I'll say this: as much as I hate it, Todd Monken was the best thing they did.
Well, the whole Justin Fields
'Cause-
thing was literally Kirby recruiting Justin Fields, so nobody else had him.
Pretty much.
That's
I knew
why
that
would
Justin
that-
Fields.
wait.
I knew the moment Justin Fields was going to transfer was when he had that fake punt in the SEC title game. I already knew that he was gone after that play.
Listen, if you're wanting to go with the theory that Kirby has made the right decisions at quarterback, then you'd rather be lucky than good.
So you're telling me Stetson was not the right decision?
No,
No.
Stetson was not the right decision.
Carson
Carson
Beck
Beck?
showed in the damn natty how he could have just win games.
Literally,
I think that's
games when you
literally
get
every other quarterback on that team is vastly more talented than Stetson.
Who cares about talent? It's about
Kirby's
winning.
gonna play the guy that gives them the best chance not to lose, not the guy that's gonna go out there and try to win.
Well,
It's
he's going to
about
play the
winning.
game manager. That's what he's
All
done.
right. Time out. Hold
Dude,
on.
You guys are out of your freaking mind. Are you freaking kidding
I
me?
like how
He
he's just
won
watching.
two
If you
That's
tell me
all it's
Stetson
right
Bennett's
now.
not a game manager, I don't know what to tell you.
All right, hold on. So, Porter, I'll let you respond, and then we'll go around the panel, and we'll move on from this topic. But go ahead, Porter.
Well, what do you want me? What do you respond about? Fromm or Stetson Bennett?
Well, I think the criticism that Kirby doesn't start the best quarterback. What would you say to that?
The best quarterback. Well, it all comes down to winning championships.
Okay, yeah.
Jake Fromm has just as many playoff wins as Justin Fields does. They both have one, a playoff win. You don't replace somebody that got you to the Rose Bowl and to the national championship game. That's.
But that's the problem. He didn't get you there.
All right.
Your defense.
Hold on, Slim. Go ahead,
Oh
Porter.
my God, dude! Did you not watch the fourth quarter of that Rose Bowl when Fromm was there?
Well, I'm going to
Did you not
explain
see
to
the-
you that one.
All right, hold
Well,
on.
go ahead.
Hold on.
Finish
Hold
up.
on.
You can go
Yeah.
finish up first. Go ahead.
How are we?
Hold on. All right. So I think that's a good point. I mean, they've won a lot with the quarterbacks they've started. I think that's a fair response. Slim?
I think a much more fair response is nobody scored on them. So
That's an entirely fair response.
Okay.
it's really easy to say your team won, your quarterback did not. To everybody, to the
But-
general point that's being made,
Oh, okay.
your quarterback
well,
just didn't.
let's-
But
screw
hold
it.
on here. I'll negate his point with that Rose Bowl. Play. Absolutely ran that defense up and down the field.
Okay, and guess
I
what?
will say that.
Malik
But-
Rozier is a
but-
terrible quarterback, and I've seen him hang 40 on Notre Dame. Bad.
But what I was going to say, but well, hold on real quick, though, Slim.
Some-
Hold on. What I'm
Trent
going to say
Dilfer
is
has a
that-
Super Bowl ring.
well, no,
Okay, so let's-
I agree
okay.
on that. But my stat, that Rose Bowl game, if you look at it, Oklahoma's hot shit. Pardon my French, but it was. I mean, anybody could have scored on that defense.
Yeah, it's like saying you scored on Tennessee's defense last year.
Okay.
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 Let me okay. Let me ask the Miami guy this. You're telling me the guy that won y'all a national championship in 2001, was he the best quarterback on the roster?
As a matter of fact, he was. Yeah.
Well, that's a terrible roster then, because
No, it wasn't
had
a great quarterback room.
exactly. So you're telling me you would trade? Let's just say Brock Berlin had another year or two.
Brock
You're telling
Berlin
me-
was not there in 2001.
What did I just say? He had another year. I'm playing speculation. Let's
Okay.
just say Brock Berlin had another year or two. You're telling me that you would trade a national championship to see what Brock Berlin could have brought you.
Brock
Is that
Berlin
what you're
was
telling
better, yes.
So you're telling me, dang, I wish Brock Berlin was there rather than this guy that led us to a national championship. Do you know how stupid that sounds?
Well, no, I'll validate that
Well,
Miami won because
here's
at Miami, I remember the stat.
here's where your theory
I
falls
remember the
apart,
stat
though.
on it.
Brock Berlin was not on that roster, and Ken Dorsey was better than the other quarterback that was on the roster.
My
I don't even know
point
who
is,
their
let's just
backup
say
was.
let's just say there was a more talented quarterback like Brock Berlin.
I mean, why do you think they
You're
brought
telling-
in a transfer from Florida and Brock Berlin to play next?
Man, I wish there was a more talented quarterback because rather than going undefeated and win a national championship, we could have done even better. I mean, that's so stupid to say something like that.
Okay.
Stetson Bennett led us to 15-0.
No,
Why
here's
in the world
the
would you say
Their
difference.
defense
You
did.
had
I'm
better
sorry.
quarterback. Hold on. Here's where your whole argument falls apart. You have better quarterbacks on your roster than Stetson Bennett. Miami didn't then.
We went 15-0. How can you improve on that?
All right, so I don't think we're gonna.
Solid argument.
That's just stupid.
I'm gonna mute
It had nothing
everybody.
to do with Stetson Bennett.
I'm going to mute everyone real quick. I don't think, look, we're not going to come to an agreement on this, but I'll unmute people now. I do think it brings us full circle into the conversation of, I mean, look, you can't just jerk quarterbacks in and out in the same way you can maybe a running back, a wide receiver, or whoever. So when do you make a change? Because now we've named Haynes King as our starter. And like I said earlier in the show, Brent Key said he's not on a short leash. So how do you manage quarterbacks?
I completely agree with your point. You can't play quarterback hokey pokey because I've seen the result of that at Miami in 2018. It was terrible.
Yeah, and that's
who in 2018.
Huh?
Who did Miami have in 2018? I remember one of them, but I don't remember who the other was.
We still had Malik Rozier, and then Perry was the freshman that came in 2018.
Perry, that's what I couldn't think of.
Yeah. Now in the chat, I do see Brian Cagle says Saban does. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people are kind of split in the Tex fan base. You know, you're kind of in the King or Pyron boat, it seems like. But you bring up Alabama and Saban, and this is kind of what I thought about as well. I don't think he played quarterback hokey pokey with them. He beat Georgia with Jalen Hurts and then with Tua Tagovailoa, and it was based on the game and kind of what was going on in the injury of both. I guess my point is, if we have two guys that are able, I think, to do that with us. If we need to make a change based on what we've seen over several games, we're going to be fine and we're going to be able to do that.
Well, here's why Tua was ready to go in that, what was that, the Natty game that they put Tua in to win?
It was.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was.
The reason Tua was ready to go is because Tua played every snap and didn't just hand the ball off to a running back in the second half of all those blowouts Alabama had. He actually ran the offense in the second half.
I'll let this be known too about that. The fact that I don't know exactly about Saban and QB hokey pokey because he never, to his year after he won the Natty, he took him out to start Jalen Hurts.
He took him out.
He was
injured. He took him out at halftime of a game that he wasn't producing, and it was the SEC championship game.
I think he wasn't playing at 100%.
His ankle stopped.
Yeah, I think he wasn't.
His ankle stopped that game.
He wasn't playing at 100%, and Saban realized that and said, "Hey, 100% Jalen Hurts is better than a 75%, Tua Tagovailoa." I think that's what that was.
I don't think Tua's ever been at 100%, but that's just bad luck, bad genes.
Or 95% or whatever you want to say a guy is at that point in the season. But like I said, let's see how.
Well, I mean, Tua got his ankle torn up all season, and they had I remember the exact play. He had a 300-pound lineman at it.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess this is the fantasy football of I guess fantasy football has taken over America because people don't care about winning anymore. It's all about
stats,
how your quarterback looks, and how the stats look. I mean, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. The stuff that you got.
I mean,
just because
I'm not saying it doesn't, but objectively, you got to look at it objectively. I mean, I'll let you guys go ahead, but I'm going to give you an example that's worth
What
its time. I just got to go dig in the bag.
That's my question. What factually was wrong that was said?
That
No,
that,
I mean, he's
that
right in terms
Kirby
of
doesn't
winning,
play the
but
right.
the best
Kirby doesn't
quarterback
play the
gives
right
you the
quarterback.
best chance of winning.
I mean, it's all about winning championships. Who cares? You know, so and so can throw it 80 yards. Who cares? It's all about who can win the game. That's all that matters. So I don't understand the second guessing. I mean, I just scratch in my head. I'm going, are you kidding me? And to see the way Stetson played in the SEC championship game against Ohio State, against TCU, the dude was unbelievable. So I guess I don't understand this kind of second guessing that you're talking about more recently. And then you talk about Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm just won an NFL game last night, a preseason game. Did you not see that?
I didn't, but I don't watch a ton of NFL. I did. It's funny.
I don't look at NFL preseason. Because Trent Dilfer wins the Super Bowl, then comparisons are going to probably die real quick.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he's a champion, so that's what you play for. You don't play for statistics or who looks better.
Yes, but I'm trying to give my team the best shot with the best players. Stetson Bennett was not the best player. Point blank. Period. Okay. Well, I just feel like we're going
quiet, Slim. It's quiet, Slim now.
I just feel like we're going in circles with that. Like we're never gonna. Okay. You two are never gonna.
Well, defense wins championships, bottom line. But we'll go somewhere else.
Yes, to your point on that 0-1 Miami team, if the offense never scored a touchdown, they still would have went 8-4. That's how much they needed their offense. Okay. Well, I mean that's a good point too.
That was the stat I was going to pull up.
So
that was the stat I was going to pull up.
Yeah. Oh, I know it. Believe me. Yeah,
give me a quarterback that's a winner. That's all I care. Just give me a quarterback that's a winner. Dorsey was a winner, and Stetson Bennett was a winner. That's all. I mean, that's all I care about. Just win. Just win championships.
Well, that's what I want to do at Tech.
So hold on. Let me at least ask this point, and then we'll go somewhere else. All right. I want to at least ask this. So you're telling me right now, with same team as last year, you would take Stetson Bennett over Matt Stafford? Right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's brain dead.
Last year?
Talking about brain dead takes. That's brain dead.
All right, we can go somewhere else. I just need to hear this.
I love Matt Stafford. The guy's got that talent, times 10. But the guy he didn't when it mattered the most. He couldn't get us to an SEC championship game. So, no, I want somebody that wins.
It had nothing to do with the receiver coming up short. It was all Matt Stafford's fault. Okay. All right.
Y'all know better than I do. Go ahead. All right.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
difference in philosophy. That's all.
I said
it's just difference in philosophy. That's
all. I mean, to me, I listen. I don't want to get on here and I mean, I respect the rivalry with Tech. I like my fellow Georgians. I love college football. I'm not going to get on here and flex because we won the last 2 national championships. I ain't that way. I just like to get on here and have a nice conversation. But if you're gonna tear down my coach and talk about how he made the wrong decision with quarterback and all this other stuff, I'm going to defend him.
Okay,
I'm not going to spike the football. I'll say that right now. Everybody knows everybody knows the level that we're at. All I want to do is come on here and
between Georgia fans and most of the rest of the country, they can take a critique of their coach because Clemson fans take critiques of Dabo all the time. Because every coach has critiques that can be made about him.
Well, I don't know any fan that's going to let you trash their coach and then they're going to just be like, okay, that's fine.
It's not trashing. It's just a critique. Every coach has shortcomings without exception.
I agree with you, Porter, because, I mean, you get a gunslinger out there. Georgia don't need a gunslinger out there to run around and try to make plays.
They just need a game manager.
Yeah.
What's going on, C-Dog?
I mean, you got a guy that's
what's going on?
Just want to
Yeah,
He's gonna move the ball and take care of the ball. That's what Kirby wants.
Yep.
Because he don't.
That's
he
what
don't
you
need
got
Brett
with
Favre
Jake
out there.
Fromm and Stenson Bennett. All he needs is somebody who'll throw the ball about 20, complete about 65, 70% of the passes, don't turn it over, and let the defense just absolutely shut the other team down. That's what he's been doing.
Because if you want to go on pure talent, would you take Anthony Richardson over Stetson Bennett? No. Anthony Richardson's got a higher ceiling than anybody we've seen in the past decade, probably.
Yeah.
Or Jeff Sims more talented than anybody on our roster.
That's a great example.
Yeah, we all wanted Byron over Jeff Sims.
Anthony Richardson is a great athlete, yes, but a great athlete doesn't make you a great quarterback.
Yeah, I also agree with Jack.
No, I mean, if you just look at a talent perspective, though.
Okay.
Talent.
Let me make this point. Hold on. Let me get let's see. My gentleman, my buddy down in Miami. What's your
Slim Shady, Haynes. Slim.
Okay. So Slim can say, I don't believe in Key because he hasn't proven himself on the field. I don't know what you're getting with him. But then you can say that the guys behind Stetson Bennett were better quarterbacks. They haven't proven it either, dude.
Yeah, it's got better talent. They're better.
How do you? I mean,
they got more upside.
Talented. Now, will they fit the system better? That's different.
My point is Stetson never should have been in because you had guys that were more talented on the roster when he got put in.
But based on what?
When he
based
got
on
put
what?
in to begin with in that Arkansas game, in what was that? 21.
20.
2020, yeah.
So, I mean, but you're saying that you don't believe in Key because he hasn't proven it a full season or hasn't proven it on the field or whatever. But then you're saying that this Carson Beck is a more talented quarterback than Stetson Bennett. He hasn't proven jack.
But he is more talented.
So let me ask you this.
Carson Beck may be more talented, but still is Brock Vandagriff.
Now, does that mean he will play quarterback better than Stetson? No, but he has more talent, more physical talent.
Let me try and suss this out. Slim, would you take the under on Tech at 4.5 this season?
No.
Well, how many games do you think Tech's winning this season?
That's right about where I got him at 4 or 5.
4 or 5. So you think he's about as good as Jeff Collins? Similar. 3-4 wins is about the same.
Well, so I think you're basing it more off the opponents we play.
Listen, you can have a more in this. You were talking about South Carolina earlier. This was absolutely true for South Carolina in several different seasons. They have been a more talented team than they were the previous year, but had the same or worse record because of how their schedule was. So yeah, just because you're necessarily
our schedule's easier. Next point, we have an easier schedule this year than we've had in like the past 6-7 years.
Well, I mean, in terms of the ACC, we do have the hardest schedule still, but
you're talking
in terms of rank,
you should absolutely Louisville to begin the season. Brom is a more proven coach than Brent Key is today.
He's a more proven head coach. That's true. And that's the game that I'm not super confident in picking. My biggest criticism of that game is I think an 8.5 point, given Louisville 8.5 points, I think is a lot.
Well, I mean, just because he's a more proven head coach doesn't always mean that they're going to win. It never means that. I mean, Nick and Josh Heupel, but look at last year.
I mean, we're going to be a better team this year than last year, right, Slim?
Well, I mean, if you're looking for a guarantee, there is no guarantee in football. It should have been a guarantee. And no, this isn't picking on Georgia. It's just a recent thing that happened. Well, you know what? I'll even use Miami. It should have been a guarantee that Miami beat Middle Tennessee. They should have been able to play that game blindfolded and win.
Yeah, I agree.
Georgia against South Carolina in 2019. Just because you're a better team does not mean you're going to win. There are no guarantees in football.
Well, it depends on what you mean by better team. It sounds like you're saying a more talented team. In those two instances, absolutely.
More talented.
But we're not going to be more talented than a lot of teams we play this year. Like, I think Louisville's more talented. Like, I'm just thinking about our schedule. Louisville will be more talented. North Carolina, Miami will be more talented.
Clemson, Georgia, the 5 that are more talented. Now everybody else, that's a different story. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about Virginia or Virginia Tech.
We're more
but-
talented.
Y'all play
We're
Pitt?
we don't play we don't play Virginia
No.
Tech. We play Virginia. We're more talented than Boston College. We're more talented than Syracuse. We're more talented than Wake even. But Wake's a damn good team because they get the best out of their players.
Well, Wake is very, very well coached. And I guess what I'm saying is I think Tech is going to be very well coached this year. Do I know for sure? No. But based on what we had in the last coach and what I saw when Key was the interim and what I know behind the scenes at practice, yeah, we're going to be a much improved team. And I think Key's going to be a very good head coach for us.
Yeah, I think he is too. Let me ask you this: what if he is successful? If he has a long tenure, do you consider him under the Saban tree, or what do you kind of consider him as kind of his mentor?
I would say George O'Leary because he always talks about George O'Leary like in press conferences. He's mentioned Nick a few times, but he always talks about George O'Leary. Now, could you put him in the Saban coaching tree? Yeah, but he only coached under Nick for 3 years. He coached under O'Leary for 11, 12 years.
I think you can be from under multiple coaching trees because look at a guy, and this is going to go over some people's heads, but look at a guy like Howard Schnellenberger. He was under
he was.
Don Shula. He was under Blank Collier. He was under Bear Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can be from under multiple trees.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And is Key a better coach for coaching under both of them? Absolutely. Absolutely he is.
Yeah.
Jeff Collins tries to use that Saban tree as an example all the time. He was a recruiting coordinator for 1 year.
Yeah. Did you say Jeff Collins?
Yeah. He recruited under Saban 1 year. And I know everything about Nick Saban.
But
he's best friends.
Here's the sideways thing about Jeff Collins. Jeff Collins' takeaway from coaching under good coaches was they're too hard on kids. Key's takeaway was I'm going to take the best that I saw from those coaches. Collins was I'm going to take the worst thing that I can take away from those coaches. I don't know why you would do that, but obviously that's what he did.
Well, I still don't know why he was so successful at Temple. Do you guys have any idea?
He wasn't that successful.
He had a lot of Matt Rule's players.
He barely made a bowl at Temple.
He went 7-5 his best year, or did he go 8-4?
I think he went 8-4 his first
he
year.
went 8-5 with the bowl loss 1 year, and then 7-6 another year.
Yeah, so his most successful year was right after Matt Rule took over, and Matt Rule had put players in the NFL at a Temple. And Joe Smallwood mentioned this earlier. Nebraska's another team I'll be interested in watching too. Lots of coaches don't work out in the NFL. I think Matt Rule's going to turn around Nebraska though, or they'll be a much improved team. Maybe not in year one, but I think Jeff Sims makes them a better team.
Some coaches are just meant for college and not the NFL. I mean, Nick Saban.
Well, most coaches are really typecasted in one or the other, right? There's very few examples of coaches that move between the two. And
the only two, sadly, are Dallas coaches being Barry and Jimmy. But Barry kind of lucked into the team Jimmy Johnson had.
Well, don't forget Pete Carroll.
Yep, Pete Carroll.
I did forget Pete Carroll. You're right. I forgot Pete Carroll. Those are the only three that are. I forget that old Bucks coach.
Those are the only three that have won a championship at both levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the Bucks coach way back in the 70s that, God, no, I see his face.
John McKay.
That's who I was thinking of. He almost did.
Yeah, he went to I believe an AFC championship against the Steelers. We had Doug Williams.
No, it was NFC against
You talking about the Bucks?
God,
you said Bucks, right?
Bucks were in the AFC.
No, I'm a Tampa fan. Bucks are in the NFC.
NFC. They had Doug Williams in '78. They went to the NFC Championship game against the Steelers. He turned it around. It took a while, but he turned it around.
We have kind of been all over the place, and now that we're talking a little NFL, A lot of people are high on the Falcons this year. There's not much expectation from Vegas. The best odd.
I'm not high on the Falcons.
It's just because the NFC South is the worst division in all of the
Yeah.
NFL.
I think the
this year.
Saints are going to win the division, honestly.
Ugh.
Well,
Well,
it's interesting.
I'm Olivia Newton-John. I'm hopelessly devoted to the Falcons. So let's just say that. I grew up in Atlanta, so it's
You
I
know,
read.
Well, I'm a Steelers fan. I grew up in Atlanta, too, but I'm a Steelers fan through and through. So 10 wins until something happens.
Yeah, I was thinking about Steelers. I was thinking about Steelers today. I was just because I was talking about some of the great. I was thinking about going down the road on 400. Think about some of the great wins that the Falcons have had over the years. Jim Mora and Michael Vick and all that. The one team we have never beaten is the Steelers. I cannot remember the last. I don't know if we've ever beaten the Steelers. That is the one team that we can.
You may have one time, but
I don't know if we have. That is the
Big
one
Ben
team that
gave us
always
some
had our
trouble.
no, I mean, I'll tell you this, though. I feel very confident in Kenny Pickett. Very confident.
How is it, and this is coming from a lifelong Bucs fan, grew up, born and raised in the Tampa area. How is it the Succaneers are the cream of the crop of that division?
It's just because you got Tom Brady.
Well,
Sir, that was a championship team if Jameis didn't throw 30 interceptions.
Yeah,
Tom
Jameis
Brady-
should struggle.
Tom Brady proved it.
Tom
'cause you
Brady
got-
didn't bring that many people
Yeah,
with him.
but you guys
Literally
sucked the year
95%
after
of
Tom
that
Brady
team.
left. You guys were terrible last year. Even Desmond Ritter beat you guys.
Well, Tom Brady just left this past year
well, they got two championships.
because the coach they hired was terrible.
That's why the
It
class
was. The Bruce Arians is a good coach.
Well,
Todd Bowles has been a head coach for one season, so can we let I'm not going to make an assessment on Brent Key after 1 year. Let's not make an assessment of Todd Bowles after 1 year.
Yeah, I'm
Fair
rooting
enough.
for
I'll
him.
leave it alone.
I'm rooting for him because his son is a freshman linebacker in Athens. So Troy Bowles.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Troy. I'm kind of halfway rooting for him just because I think he's a nice guy. But no, I'm a Falcons fan. I always have been. I always will be. I don't care even if they stick their finger in Dog Nation's eyes and don't, never draft our players and all that. I still pull for them.
Well, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about the Tech schedule. So I think it'd be interesting to go around this panel. We're going to go through the schedule, and you tell me Tech picks up a win or not, which it'll be most interesting to see how y'all pick Louisville. Porter, who wins the Louisville game opening up Friday?
I think Tech wins.
All right, so we got that's Osborne Tech. I think Tech wins that game. Tech fan?
I honestly got a coin flipper. Like I've got both scenarios where it's going to be close in the fourth, but if it went, I got to pick Tech. I do. I got to. It would hurt.
Yeah, it would be pretty devastating to lose that game. Sea-Dog?
As a Tech fan, I got to choose Tech.
Slim. I'm sure Slim picks Louisville. Let's see. Yeah.
Because Jeff Brom has more experience.
Well,
I mean,
and by your own admission, a more talented team. So yes, it makes sense to pick Louisville to win that game.
And by your own admission, the more talented
transfers.
By your own
People
admission,
are talking about how Georgia State wide receiver is a great talent, dude. Like we murdered him.
yeah, and a Jacksonville State.
Wait a minute. You saying good talent can't come from FCS schools?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I am saying that.
I'm not saying that.
Jerry Rice?
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice?
Brett Favre is
sure.
another one.
Yeah, I would fallen into that one.
Was Southern Miss not Division I when he played there?
Maybe they were, but they were not exactly a loaded squad.
No, I get the
they're,
point.
They're basically what they are now. They would have been considered a group of five.
And by the way, F. Brett Favre. He's a thief. But anyway, moving on to the...
Sir, wait a minute, Rick. What happened to innocent until proven guilty, sir?
He has text messages where he's like, are you sure that no one's going to find out about this, right? Like, And
if there's evidence, then
which is hilarious that you'd be dumb enough to think you could record what you're trying to do and that's going to be okay. Anyways, South Carolina State, I'm hoping can we all just agree on unanimously Tech wins that game?
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
All right, now this one, I actually picked this to take.
I didn't agree to that.
If you think that we're losing to South Carolina State, I'm driving to Memphis after the show ends. All right, and we can just have that fun.
If Jeff Collins was still there, I might actually pick South Carolina State, but he's.
I wouldn't even be honest to God if he was for a fourth season. I wouldn't even blame you.
Well, Jeff Collins would win that game, but you would actually feel worse after you won 17-10 over South Carolina State with Jeff Collins. But
people forget we was down 14-7 against Western Carolinas last year.
That's
yeah,
true.
Western Carolina scored on the first 2 drives.
That's true.
You would feel as bad as I did.
Yeah, it was that game. We're just doomed.
You would feel as bad as I did after Miami beat Virginia 14-12 in 4 overtimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know what though? You know what? We can all say that, but at least we're not Virginia Tech and Wake going into overtime at 0-0.
That's true. Well, and I'll give you credit, Slim. At least you won the game. It'd feel a lot worse. You feel a lot worse if you didn't.
You feel a lot worse losing to Citadel in the overtime.
We lost Porter here, but this game I picked us actually lose. Ole Miss on the road, 7:30 kick. If you guys haven't heard, Rec will be at that game. Rec and Papa Rec.
I already got my tickets.
Nice, man. I'll have to hook up with you.
Hey,
between
we're
them.
doing
You forget that I changed my name coming on here.
Rick, we're doing
that's
the
right.
birthday party that weekend. I ain't gonna be able to go to the game, but y'all come by. I'll treat you to dinner.
All right, sounds good.
Maybe.
You're right. I always do forget that. I have a short memory. Tech fan, who wins the Ole Miss game?
I'm not going to be like last year. We're not going to get blown out 42-0, but I just don't think we got enough to pull it out.
Yeah, that's two L's. Sea-Dog?
Yeah, I'm going to take an L. I think it's going to be closer, but it's going to be just too difficult.
I guarantee we're not going to get put 42-0. I can guarantee that.
It'll be far more competitive than it was last year for sure.
I mean, I could see it being like 31-10.
Yeah, maybe.
I see 38 to like 28 or 21.
So Slim's got us taking the L. It doesn't really matter, Porter. I'm sure you have us taking a loss on the road at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I got you 31-20. How about that? I got Ole Miss 31.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I mean, look, this is maybe
42-0 just ain't gonna happen.
I'll say this: this might be the game that I want to win the most this year, though. That I don't think we will, just because.
That's the second on my list.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we want to beat Georgia, right? But Lane is really
outside of that.
Yeah, he's stolen our players from us. He, trashed us last year.
He just won't hire Jeff Collins, then we'll win the game.
Now, not trying to segue the conversation, but can we come to an agreement that, Lane Kiffin is an overrated head coach?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe slightly. I mean, look, I'm probably
in terms he puts offenses on the field, but as a head coach, he's overrated.
No, yes, I have absolutely all the faith in the world in Lane Kiffin, the offensive coordinator, without a shadow of a doubt. But Lane Kiffin, the head coach, if you take in the entirety of his record, NFL and college, is still a sub-500 head coach. Now, granted, so is Bill Belichick without Tom Brady, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, Lane is hard to call. Maybe he is a little bit overrated. I've been kind of high on Lane because Lane will lose kind of head-scratching games, but then he'll go beat Alabama. He'll go and
I don't think Lane's
I'm going to reference Uncle Lou here. If you actually want, but he is right. Lane has not won any big games.
Yeah, I guess he's come close to beating Alabama now that
He's came close to winning them, but he never wins the big games.
I've brought this topic up a few times and gotten beaten up over it, but I just don't get the infatuation with Lane Kiffin.
Even at Tennessee, he missed a field goal to beat them, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
No. The field goal got blocked. That wasn't Lane.
Yeah.
Was that Derek Dooley?
No, that was Lane. It was 09. I think that's right.
No, but the guy that blocked.
Yeah, it was 09.
That was Derek Dooley.
The big nose guard blocked it. I can't remember the guy's name.
I know. I swear that was Derek Dooley.
No, that was Lane. Yeah, because he beat us that year. I remember that was 09. Hey, I will say this. I know WreckTalk. Hey, I'm sorry. What is your name, by the way? What's your first name?
I don't give my first name out.
Okay, all right,
WreckTalk.
Yeah. Okay, I'll call you WreckTalk.
You can call me Wreck. Yeah.
I know you're a single guy. You said you're going to Oxford, right?
I like where this is going. Yes, I am.
All right, I will say this. Let me give you a little tip. Last time I was down there for a game, I was single. I was a single guy. I've been married for 26 years, so don't think I don't mess around with my wife or anything like that. But
right
when the Ole Miss women, they're beautiful, but they're overrated. You know why they're overrated? Because they don't party with you. They're very prissy. So
okay.
Don't go down to the Grove thinking you're gonna get up with some debutante queen or anything like that. They're very snobbish.
Well,
so I hate
that.
I can confirm he's right, but just now, granted, this is anecdotal evidence. But I was 19 at the time, I think. I was at a hell of a party on Sorority Row. I'm just saying.
Well, that might work out because, you've never, Slim's been to the events that we've been at. I don't drink, so maybe that ingratiates me with them. I don't know. Maybe they get a snobbish vibe as well.
I do on special occasions, and I don't remember what happens the morning after.
Don't get it twisted. They all drink.
Oh, they're just snobby.
They do, but they're very worried about their reputation and all this. I just never really had a good time in Oxford. It was okay.
I got at least see the Grove once.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's beautiful and all that, and the women are beautiful. But I will say this: if you want to go to a tailgate where you can pick up and good-looking women, go to a tailgate in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
The LSU girls they're not only beautiful. They party, so I'll just go ahead and leave it at that. So anyway, I didn't mean to sidetrack the conversation.
Well,
but
and now you don't have to worry about this because you do stay sober, Wreck. But you do have there are a couple of swamp donkeys in the bunch. You do have to watch out.
Well, you just don't tell anyone about those, right? I mean, you're going to have a few L's. We're not winning all the time, are we?
I mean, as much as people knock the home atmosphere. Boy, there's some sights to be seen at a tailgate in Miami.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, there's just
Not
also greasy, half-eaten chicken legs in the hotel room floors too. So,
Well, I don't stay in those hotels.
And that's
we got what? We got Tech 3-1 right now.
We're at
2-1. We've beat Louisville. We've beat South Carolina State. We took our first loss. Now we're going to stay on the road. We're going to go to Winston-Salem. Let's see. I actually predicted us to take an L here, Osborne.
I got Tech winning just because the quarterback's no longer there.
All right, fair. Tech fan.
I've got us winning, but the quarterback's not there. They lose their top 2, maybe top 3 receivers.
All right, so that's
definitely big.
All right, Sea-Dog. This is not Sea-Dog that's on the picture, by the way. This is Sea-Dog 18.
You keep screwing with me that way too.
No, I'm not. I'm not the Sea-Dog. I wish I could say a tie, but I'll give it to Tech. But there's too many unknown variables about it between the quarterback and Brent Key, how he's going to work out. So I don't really know for sure.
Slim?
Yeah, Wake Forest is going to win that game because it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They had great quarterback play there before.
Well, that's what I'm saying about the receivers not being there. That's what I'm about.
Well, to me, it's much like a Lincoln Riley kind of thing. It's the system. They just, for whatever reason, they keep putting out quarterbacks. They keep putting out receivers that are putting up numbers.
Yeah, I've
I
said
would have
the
liked to see Wake Forest and USC play last year. I would have liked to see that kind of game.
Well, then we've got Tech getting a win, going 1-1 on the road. So now we're 3-1 per the panel. Now we come back home and play Bowling Green. I feel like everyone but Slim says we get a win here. Am I right?
No, I'm going to say
Yeah,
you
we're
win
good.
Bowling Green. I'm being realistic here.
All right. Dang, now we're 4-1. So here's the one that.
2 and 3, sir.
Well, you're one vote on the panel, Slim. That's how this works. Now we go on the road.
Mine's right. Just ask me, I'll tell you.
We go on the road to Miami, and this is probably my most controversial pick in my prediction. I said we go on the road and beat Miami. Porter,
Spicy.
what do you think?
I think Miami wins just because Miami better win. That coaching staff would get their ass chewed by the alumni if that didn't happen. So they need it worse than Keene needs it. So I say Miami wins.
All right, Tech fan.
I'm going to give it to Miami, but I will say Tech to win is the fact that Miami plays, I'm pretty sure it's North Carolina or Clemson next week. They might look ahead to that kind of game for at least a half.
Oh, that was old Rex argument. Sea-Dog.
As much as I want to say Tech because Slim Shady's here, I think Miami's going to get it.
All right.
I just think they are.
So we've got us taking an L on the road at Miami. Now, I will just reiterate, I do hope Miami's undefeated and you beat Texas A&M going into this game. I think that's the best case scenario for Tech. Y'all get caught looking ahead to North Carolina a little bit. But Miami does have a bye before this game, so it would be a tough one to win.
That's why I have the loss.
Well, let me ask you this. Maybe I'm not an ACC guy, so help me understand. Looking ahead to North Carolina.
North Carolina has just been the thorn in our side.
Oh,
yeah. What
What
Virginia is to us, North Carolina is to Miami.
Okay. I was about to say North Carolina is not a football power. I don't know why you'd be looking ahead to North Carolina. Okay, I got you.
Well, they went to the ACC championship last year, and until Florida State stepped up, they've been the second best team in the ACC.
Well, I know they went to an Orange Bowl and played Texas A&M pretty tough, but other than that, you're right. I forgot they played Clemson last year. So, okay.
All right, then we come home and play one of the two teams picked to be worse preseason than Tech, Boston College. I got us taking a win.
We get a bye week after this, right?
Yeah, so we have a bye week leading into Boston College. Porter?
Yeah, the Tech wins.
Is there anyone who doesn't think we're able to beat Boston College after a bye at home? I didn't think so. All right, so where does that bring us to? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're 5-2. 5-2. All right, then maybe one of the more important games on our schedule. Number 21, North Carolina, but it's at home. Porter. Now keep in mind before you go, Porter, we have beat North Carolina the past 2 years in a row.
I know. I mean, I would not go against that. No, I say Tech wins.
Ooh,
they even won when Collins was the quarter. When Collins was the coach, so
Collins blew them out. What was the score of that game? 42 to like 20 something.
48-21.
That's embarrassing.
You can never unlose to Jeff Collins.
You can never unlose to Jeff Collins, and like if I've said this before, if I got blown out by Jeff Collins, I would quit coaching permanently right there on the spot.
That brings up a good question. What's worse, losing to Jeff Collins or losing to Willie Taggart?
Jeff Collins.
Collins.
Not a question.
Jeff Collins can't even blow out Western Carolina, so how does he blow out North Carolina?
And he's alumni of Western Carolina. He can't blow them out.
Well, put it this way. Willie Taggart won 5 games in a season, so there's your answer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 66% more than Collins ever won. I've got to say, no, I actually picked us to lose this game, which means I have to eat crow. Now I'll
this
give
is
you
the
a
homecoming game, right?
Talking about Boston College?
No, to North Carolina. I'll give you a little.
North Carolina.
behind the scenes, I wanted us to go 7-5, and I picked us to beat Miami. So I kind of had to pick us to lose to North Carolina for that to happen. But Tech fan,
I got us losing. It's hard to win this. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, 3 in a row. Sea-Dog 18.
I have us winning this game, and this is the homecoming game, right?
It should be. I don't know if that's been announced. I should know that as someone who creates content for Georgia Tech. But you know what, guys? I apologize. I'm trying my best here.
It is homecoming.
Someone put in the
Okay, it is homecoming. Slim, you will pick the outcome of this game, which I hate to say. What does Tech win against North Carolina?
I'm not gonna lie. This is a tough one for me to pick because I see your point with you beat them 2 years in a row with Jeff Collins.
Well, once with Collins and once with Key.
Yeah.
But Collins blew him out, which is crazy.
Unfortunately, I think that's going to come to an end.
Oh, so we take an L to North Carolina, bringing us to 5-3, still looking for bowl eligibility. Now, this is a tough stretch. In my prediction video, from North Carolina on, I kind of called this Murderer's Row for us. This is a tough stretch. We go on the road to Charlottesville, which we have never played well in Charlottesville. Now, Virginia is Virginia picked last in the ACC?
They should be.
I'm pretty sure they are. So I picked us to get a win here. Porter, what do you think?
Well, you say you've never done well in Charlottesville. Let me just take you back.
We've done well at times, but not often.
Let me take you back to when I was in college.
Okay.
When, unfortunately, Georgia Tech won a national championship. In 1990, they beat number 1 ranked Virginia on the road. So
that is true.
I always remember that. So I don't know if that was before your time, Reck, but
it was. But I'm very familiar.
I was around when that happened, so that was a tough time to be a Georgia fan. So I'll take Tech because with all the with the tragedy that happened on the campus and their quarterback left to go to NC State or something. I take Tech.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 for Tech. Tech fan.
Give me Tech. I just after last year's game, I think we're at least going to try and go kick their ass up there.
And they've won 2 in a row now. This would be, the hat trick for them over us. Sea-Dog 18. Not all at once. Sea-Dog 18 is picking us to win this game, I'm sure. Slim, what do you think?
Well, I don't want to discount, because you know better than I about you having trouble in Charlottesville.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. You better win this game.
I agree. If we can't win this game, making a bowl is going to be very tough.
Now, to Porter's point about what happened last season at Virginia, that's going to probably be the most ready team coming into the season because they've had a longer layoff than everybody else.
Okay.
So, at the very least, early in the season, I could see Virginia maybe not coming up with W's in the column, but looking better than what people are thinking.
Well, I agree because most people think they're going to finish last in the ACC. But that would bring us to 6-3. Now, I will say this, and people might say I'm crazy. I could see us doing something like this, dropping Virginia and then somehow beating Clemson the next week. I don't think that's the craziest thing that could happen. But yeah, this is probably Louisville are probably the 2 most important games on our schedule to win. So we get to a bowl after a win at Virginia. Then we stay on the road and go to Death Valley at Clemson. I picked us to lose this game. Does anyone think we win this game?
I do. I do.
All right. Tell me why you think we win this game, Tech fan. I mean, Clemson far more talented than we are.
This is one where Clemson, for some reason, last 2 years, I know their offense hasn't been good, but there is no reason that Jeff Collins should have been in any game. No reason.
This is true.
And you're telling me that Brent Key, who's better than Collins, can't go up there and try and prove a point?
He was in it for half a game. I mean, let's not forget Clemson beat you.
No, you're forgetting about the game where we lost on the 1 yard line.
It was 14-10, right?
Yeah, that was 2021.
14-8.
That was 21. I'm talking about 22 where they beat you worse than Georgia did.
But is 21
No,
any
I mean,
different in talent differential and state of the program than last year, as far as to his point?
Yes, Clemson's offense was markedly better. As bad as it was obviously better in 22 than it was in 21.
Well, we did get we got 1 or 2 punts blocked against Clemson too, right?
It was 2, yeah.
2.
We got 2 blocked against them. We threw a pick on the first play, and we were still competitive for a half. So I can see a play where we can be in this game. Absolutely.
No, I agree. I don't think we'll get necessarily blown out. I think we have the ability to be competitive in this game. But yeah, so we got one person that says we'll win.
I think you're going to get blown out, but it's only because I think that Clemson is going to be in the playoffs this year. I think they're going to be that much better.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what is it? Garrett Riley is now their OC. What he's able to do at Clemson. Their offense has not been what it was like under Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. Who was their quarterback that struggled so? Big six.
DJ Ukulele.
Uwe Ungalale. That's right. He's at Oregon State now.
And I mean,
he's probably regretting that.
What's his name? Who they got now? K. Klubnik, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Who
But
lost
I'm
to
gonna ask
Tennessee?
you, who are they throwing to? Who are any of the receivers they got up?
They got no one out of the portal.
Well,
That's the thing. I don't know if they got any receivers.
That was the problem, kind of because receiving core was part of their problem last year, but their 2 best receivers also had season-ending injuries in the fall camp. Well, one in spring, one in fall.
All right. Well, that would take us to 6-4. Also, another game I'll be at. Clemson, not far off that Georgia line, northeast part of the state. Then we come home and get Syracuse. And this is also an interesting game to pick. Syracuse also has new coordinators. Well, we keep Thacker, but they have a new OC, a new DC. I think they lose their veteran quarterback as well. Porter, what do you think about coming home?
No, they lose Sean Tucker, not their quarterback.
Oh, that's right. They lose their running back that was so good. They retain their 3-year starter quarterback. Porter, what do you think about Tech playing Syracuse at home?
Well, let me ask you this: how many weeks in a row have they played?
Has Syracuse played? Let me see.
No. Tech. How many? When was your off week, and when was how many? Weeks
Between Miami and Boston College.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 games.
So this will be our 4th straight game.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not too bad. So
yeah, so that'll be game number 5.
That will be game number 5, and then Georgia game will be number 6. Is that right?
That's correct.
Straight. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, I think at home. Yeah, I think Tech wins at home.
All right. So Porter's got us a win. Tech fan?
I've got us winning, but I got a quick question. Why in God's name does it seem like it's going to happen? Syracuse going to have an absolutely abysmal year, but then give it a few years, Dino Babers going to have like a 9-win season and just get a re-extension. It happens every time.
And this is why I'm curious about this game this year, because every few years they seem to have a good season and save Dino's job. And that's why I'm conflicted on this game.
Well, I'll tell you what my reasoning was for Tech winning this game. Syracuse tends to fall off in the second half of season. So in like the last 4 or 5 years, they're 6-20 in November. They do not play well in November. And I said, I think we have them scheduled at the right time. If we were playing them in like game 3, I would probably feel differently about this game. But for that reason, I think Tech wins this game. So Sea-Dog 18. Or Porter, did you say? Yeah, Porter said we win. Tech fan, what do you think?
I said we will.
All right,
Absolutely.
Sea Dog 18.
I think we win.
All right, Slim.
I'll give you the win, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not confident on it. I do think, I mean, Dino's a better coach, and to Porter's point earlier, about Stetson. I mean, experience does matter, and they do have the experienced quarterback.
They do, and we're going to have a quarterback that is trying to find his way this season. Now, by this point in the season, we're going to know who the best man for the job is, too. We kind of haven't talked about that as far as, right now it's Haynes King. Will Haynes King still be the starter, once we get to Virginia? It's hard to say, and setting aside injury, obviously, if someone gets injured, someone else is going to have to step up. But as far as just will Haynes King work out, it'd be interesting to see if Pyron is starter at this point in the season. But that would take us to 7-4. Now, as far as the Georgia game, we haven't beat Georgia at home since George Godsey was here in 1999. And I will say this.
Hamilton.
Was it Hamilton?
It was Hamilton in 99. George Godsey went down there and
that was 2000.
Should have beat him by more in 2000.
That's right. Okay, at home it was at 99. I picked us to lose this game. I mean, obviously we know where Georgia is right now in the realm of college football, but I don't think that it's impossible for us to win this game either, in the way that I thought that when Collins was the coach. We've talked about the game last year. Key is voiced strongly, as he should. I'm not here for moral victories. I'm not here to say we play them close. I'm here to win the football game. And I like hearing that from our coach. When Jeff was here, it was, this is the best team in the country, just we got to love on these kids and all of that nonsense. That's out the door now. I do think this will be a closer game than probably most people predict. Depending on what Tech's record is at this point in the season, Georgia will be favored by 21 points.
I'll say this, the fact that they're coming off a road trip to Knoxville definitely makes this interesting.
Well, that makes it interesting, but Georgia most likely will be looking to an SEC championship berth and a playoff berth here. Can you catch them kind of looking ahead to that? I don't know. I mean, those are all interesting things to talk about.
Well, that and the fact they play the only team that's going to compete in the East with them. That, like I said, that game coming right before this, honestly, is about the best thing for us.
Yeah. Now we'll get a Georgia fan's opinion. Now you spoke highly of Key in this game last year. How do you see this game, this rivalry game, as Key is taken over the program?
Well, I think it all depends on if Georgia has a loss or not at this juncture. If we have two losses, let's just say we go into Auburn and lose, and we say we get beat the week before. I didn't think the Tennessee game was the week before. That's news to me.
It is. It's at Tennessee the week before.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if we have two losses by the Tech game, I could see our players not being that interested in the game. To be honest with you, that's my biggest concern. If we have one or fewer losses, and we are headed to the SEC championship game, I feel very confident about Georgia, because I can't remember how many SEC championships game we've been to, but I do know we are undefeated against Tech. Mm-hmm. Going into SEC championship games. I mean, you go back to when Rick was there and all that. So when the team is focused, they do pretty good against Tech. The problem is when they lose focus. I'll give you a great example. 2014, they had a chance to, as a fan who's been to some really neat bowl games, I was excited because I heard before that game that if Georgia beats Tech, we're probably going to the Orange Bowl or one of the major bowls. The problem was that Arkansas could not beat Missouri the day before. I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah,
that kept us out of the SEC championship game. So in 2014, which was a hell of a game, I mean, one of the greatest Georgia Tech games you'll ever see.
Yep.
We lost that game because I think part of it is we went in that game knowing we couldn't go to the SEC championship game. So I think it all depends on whether or not we're contention or not for the SEC. If we come in that game with one or fewer losses, I feel pretty good about our chances. If we have two or more and we're out of the SEC and out of the national championship, heck, I can see us losing. That's not, yeah, I can see that happening.
Well, you have your toughest stretch in your schedule. So you play Ole Miss at home, and we've talked about Ole Miss, but I mean, they're one of the better teams in the West, right? Preseason 22. Then you go on the road to Knoxville, and you stay on the road and come to Bobby Dodd. So, I hope everyone's healthy. You could be a tad bit beat up, possibly, though it's not going to matter much with the depth you have on your roster. This is interesting.
Please tell me between Ole Miss and Tennessee which team would beat them up. Neither one of those are physical teams that are going to beat you up.
Who they played before Ole Miss? Did they play Kentucky before then?
So
no, we play
Missouri
Kentucky in October, I believe.
They play Missouri. So basically, they play Vanderbilt and October 14th. They go on a bye. Then they play Florida, which is a neutral site game. Florida's over/under is 5.5. Not much expected of them. Then
I don't see Florida winning more than 3 games.
Yeah, a lot of people down on Florida. Now you play Missouri at home after that, and Missouri was one of those teams that kind of caught you napping last year. Probably doesn't happen this year, but who knows? That's why we play the games.
Not at home. I don't see that at home. So.
Yeah. Then you got Ole Miss, Tennessee, and
the
Tech.
problem with Ole Miss is they have a very physical running game. So I could see they're pretty physical when it comes to running the ball. So
who's that running back that they have? That's really good.
Judkins.
Yeah.
So
Quayshawn Judkins.
No, I mean, again, it all comes down to. I mean, kind of what I said. If we're
I said those Tennessee game, they could get beat up and ran. They could win both of them. But I say this, they will definitely be probably worn out from those games.
Now, see, I just completely disagree. I don't think Tennessee's going to be very good this year. I think Joe Milton is an interception machine, and that's what he's proven to be his entire college career. And they don't have a wide receiver like Hyatt that it's not possible.
Well, it's like you said, though. It's like Lincoln Riley. It's all the scheme. That's all that Heupel is a scheme coach.
Well, yes, but let's not forget Joe Milton has been benched in that scheme for Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, and Kirby's been.
Well, I mean, he did come off the bench and absolutely run it up in the bowl game.
Yeah, but he also came off the bench and continued to lose the South Carolina game.
That South Carolina game. Well, that defense didn't exactly do him any favors.
Well, no, they didn't. That's once again. To me, USC, North Carolina, and Tennessee are all the exact same team with different colors, and I have zero faith in any of them until they find another half of a football team.
Yeah, they're gonna have to learn to play defense.
Yeah, you put Ole Miss in that bracket as well.
I mean, I'll say I've got a good question though. For anybody here, what is the best team you've ever seen not win a national title?
It's got. I mean, that Miami team in 2002, that was a hell of a game. That was a hell of a team, and really they deserved to win the national championship. That penalty at the end of the game was ridiculous.
I'll give you one even better, and this is even controversial amongst Miami fans. The 2000 Miami team. Because as talented as they were in 01 and 02, they lost Reggie Wayne, Santana Moss, Edrin James, and Dan Morgan off the 2000 team.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game, and I love the backstory of getting in the fight with Florida and all that. Well, hey, Slim, I'm glad you brought that up again. I'm so glad you brought that up because, let me ask you this, because we got our Tech friends on here. When Tech won the national championship in 1990. That's the same year that Miami went out of the Cotton Bowl and absolutely molested Texas.
Sure it was.
Tell me, what would have happened if Tech had played that Miami team?
Well, I think you probably would have seen something. So listen,
you'd boat races.
AP writers admitted at the time. It was said during the broadcast of that Texas game. Miami was the best team in the country, but they didn't deserve to be national champions. Nobody voted for Miami because they were all pissed at them.
That was a hell of a team. I mean,
Well, I will say though, I mean, if the coaches poll definitely made it interesting because I mean, Tom Osborne said we was the best, and that's a pretty good opinion because those Nebraska teams something.
And I'm not going to doubt Tom Osborne's opinion, but when people that vote on the AP poll come right out and say we don't like Miami, we're not voting for them. I mean, okay.
Yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. Thank God we're not in the BCS and before era.
Well,
You still have a split title in the BCS era. Don't forget, 03, USC and Texas, or USC and LSU.
Sure.
USC, LSU.
And I'm not trying to discount what Tech did in 1990. That was a hell of a good Tech team. I'm not discounting, but I would have loved to have seen that game where Tech played Miami because that Miami team was. Hey, Slim, remind me who y'all. I think y'all lost to Notre Dame and somebody else. Is that right?
I thought we just had a
Florida
tie.
State.
We lost one game that year, and it was to Washington.
Okay, Washington. Okay. All right. Wow.
And we lost to Florida State.
Who did Washington have?
I mean, I would have to look.
Is it Brock? It was a Brock Heward, maybe, or
maybe. I mean, listen. I understand that, and this is because some of these guys are a little younger, but Washington has had several periods through history where they've been a perennial top 25 team. So I mean, Washington was no slouch then, and they even got some other.
Didn't they win it the next year?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
91.
Miami won it the next year, yeah, and they played for it again in '92 and lost to Alabama.
Yeah, they split it. They split Miami and Washington split it the next year. That's right. Forgot about that. 91.
Did they split it with Washington in '91?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when you
Georgia Tech.
split them. Yeah, we split with Colorado, but so that has Tech
Well,
going.
Colorado got a fifth down, so we all know that.
Yeah, I don't know how you messed that up, but
Well,
yeah.
I've read the story that some guy was having a heart attack on the sideline.
I mean, you bring that up, Porter. That was actually the first Miami game I ever got to go to because my aunt's from Texas.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and her brother went to UT Austin, so got us some tickets, and we sat out there and watched the whole game. And I'll never forget. I think it was Robert Bailey, and they actually talked about this. I think it was on one of those 30 for 30s.
Yeah.
Robert Bailey was like, "I'm gonna knock the first motherfucker out that I see."
That's right. He did.
True to his word, he ran down there on the opening kickoff and knocked out the returner. Hit him.
Yeah. You're exactly right. They talk about it on that the U.
I'll actually give you another little interesting fact about 1990 with Colorado. Anybody remember the Phantom clipping call when Rocky Ismail took it back?
Yeah.
Now, Greg, to be fair, this is why I say. Now, I agree with him that would be a good game, but this is why I say Miami was better. As bad as Miami obliterated Texas, they did it with 210 yards of penalties against them.
That's right.
Yeah, it would have been. It'd be
and they beat Texas. I think it was like 43 to 6 or 43 to 3, something like that.
Well, it was a seminal game because the NCAA instituted a bunch of rules after that game. They were like, we are not. We're going to penalize all this, showboating and all that.
Yeah, that was when the excessive celebration penalties came into football. So thank Miami for that, y'all.
And see, the funny part about this is, as an SEC guy and a Georgia grad, and all that, I like Miami to this day. Miami's one of my favorite teams. You know why? Because they were a thorn in FSU's side, and I hate to this day. I hate FSU. That's one of the teams I hate mainly because they used to come in our state and cherry pick our players. And Miami never did that. Miami just kind of stayed below Tampa and Orlando, kind of that
I-4 line from Daytona to Tampa. That was theirs. Yeah.
But
they recruited everywhere though. Cortez Kennedy came out of Arkansas.
Yeah, but like they kind of didn't. They weren't a thorn in our side. They were kind of like they kind of stayed away from us. But FSU would come to like Thomasville and get Charlie Ward and these great players, and it was like I hated those people because they in the '90s they were such a machine. And I love that Miami would always come up and beat their ass. So
I told Alabama.
I'll give you guys a.
I told Alabama fans Miami should be their favorite team ever. And as Alabama fan finally asked me why, I said because if it wasn't for Miami, nobody would be talking about Nick Saban because Bobby Bowden would have 20 national titles.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Slim. That's a great point. You're exactly right.
I'll say this as a Tech fan. If you guys want to hate us for something, hate us, and especially Bill Lewis for Charlie Ward and the fast break offense. You definitely had us for that.
Oh man, yeah, that was a great game. That was the
it's
first
1992.
Yeah,
but my dad was at that game, and the second half is when they broke out the fast break offense.
Yep.
Now I'll freely admit I've got respect for Florida State because they kept us on the schedule, and I have respect for Bobby Bowden.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, BVD's right. It is getting late. I know we probably all have to work tomorrow, but I appreciate y'all coming on the panel, having a conversation, and I'll go around and give y'all last words. Tech fan, what do you have to say?
Go Jackets to hell with Georgia, and I see y'all September 1st.
All right, sounds good. There's Tech fan Slim Shady Canes. What's your last words tonight?
Well, I want to just point out how I'm not a hater. That by my prediction, I went over the Vegas number. I gave you 5 wins.
By a game, yeah, by half a game.
Hey, I went over Vegas's number. I'm not a hater.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right.
I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, thanks, Slim. That's Slim Shady. Kane, Sea-Dog 18.
To hell with Georgia, and we're going to kick Louisville's ass on September 1st.
All right. Like to hear it. Porter, what do you have to say?
I love a good discussion, guys, and love college football. Love my fellow Georgians, and hey, man, thanks for having me on. I really enjoy this.
All right, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. Well, guys, didn't plan on doing this show tonight. I appreciate y'all tuning out or turning out, not necessarily tuning out. I'll find some time. Maybe hopefully I can get the video out tomorrow on Haynes King being named the starter and have time to watch the press conference Key gave. I've mentioned it before. I'm kind of maxed out on as far as time I can spend on things, but I'm definitely excited for the season. Appreciate the support from you guys, and y'all have a great night.